okay with that, you can just drop out of the event. It will be on recording. So
thank you, Mila. Okay, so basically, GI Group is a big staffing agency. We do everything that is HR. So we have 3 brands in Bulgaria. I'm going to be very, very brief about it. Just want to let you know what we do. And most importantly, I'm going to let you know how Federico helped us with digitalization and moving online a lot of processes. So GI Group is the biggest staffing company in Italy, is the second recruiting company in Europe, and we have 3 brands in Bulgaria. The brands are GI Group, who are managing all the temporary staffing, all the flexible personnel on demand when you need it. Wiser is the search and selection brand. They do executive search and headhunting. And TAC-TMI is a very, very important part of the portfolio. They do all the training and all the digitalization of processes, all the consulting services to big corporate companies and smaller organizations. You can fly through all the slides for the services because this is pretty much the same. You will get this presentation so you can see in detail how can you use our GI services. Basically, if you want any advice, any staff, or any recruitment, you can call me and find how to help you. Finally, I want to introduce Federico. Federico is a guy who helped us a lot in digitalizing a lot of processes. So what we had to do. So when the lockdown started, we were forced to move a lot of stuff online. So we had to digitalize the entire sales process. We had to generate leads. So we had to contact clients online through social media or through digital campaigns. And we had to invest a lot more in digital marketing. Part of that was related to training all the management and all the country managers in GI Group, which is 50 countries worldwide. How to use LinkedIn effectively. As an HR player, LinkedIn is our most important social media. So Federico was the guy who trained me and a lot of other managers how to construct a personal brand in LinkedIn, how to communicate effectively in LinkedIn, so how to be very brief but to the point, and how to be attractive. And also how to manage the company brand and the company page in LinkedIn. So a lot of that we're going to share with you today. And when Mila told me, okay, we have to help companies digitalize, we have to help them be present online and in social media, I told her, I have just the right guy for you. It's Federico.
That was exactly how
and he was very, very kind to join us and to participate into that. If you have any other questions, because I won't be here for the closing session of this this training, this webinar, you can contact me at the details we provided. And with that, I leave you to the very, very skilled hands of Federico. And I thank again for being present and being with us today. Thank you, Fede.
Thank you very much for the introduction. And it's a pleasure to be with you, even though I'm not physically there with you. I am physically in Italy right now, but anyway, it's always a pleasure to work with colleagues from other countries and get to meet people even virtually. Hearing a little bit of feedback on the.
Ma non per vedere solo, quindi prima facciamo una cosa da solo con lui e poi
microphone open, and that's a little bit okay, perfect. Okay, great. Let me introduce myself very briefly. So as Dimo already mentioned, I am a person. I'm a trainer. I mostly do training and consulting in the innovation space. I am specialized in innovation on different fields, in different departments. I specialize on innovating HR processes and on innovating sales processes in particular. And I've been working on LinkedIn training and LinkedIn consulting for about 6 years now. I've been working in sales training for double that time, but specializing on LinkedIn in the last 6 years, and never has it been a good moment to be on LinkedIn as after the pandemic, because the numbers of people that have gone onto LinkedIn has risen dramatically, and so this creates a lot of opportunities for different departments in the company. And we will, what I would like to do during this session is to explore the great treasure of business opportunities that having a strategic approach on LinkedIn can offer us. Of course, it's going to be an exploration. We have less than an hour to cover something that you would need a week to probably have everything, because it's a really complex social network. There are lots of intricacies in crafting a good strategy. But what I aim to do is to give you a wide enough view so that you can choose what is the business opportunity that suits your business the most. And set some guidelines on how to seize those business opportunities. So it's not going to be just a presentation in general, but I'm going to try to share some guidelines, of course, without being able to go into too much detail. The program is going to be about an hour, and then we're going to have a session, a final question and answer session at the end. But if there are at any time you have any moment where you feel the need to stop me and go deeper into something, please do stop me, or maybe chat, and I will try to stop and take your questions whenever they come up. Very brief introduction about myself, just to clarify. I've said something already. You can see there actually a QR code that sends you to my LinkedIn profile. And but you can also find me by name, of course. I have been doing sales training, as I said, since 2011, and I actually work for a company that is separate from GI Group. We don't have a relationship other than being partners, as Dimo said. We're training providers that work and still work with GI Group on a variety of topics. But my company is named Coralia. We do work in Italy, but we have different partnerships with various companies across Europe, and not only Europe. As I said, I specialize on innovation. I'm not going to give you the whole rundown because that's actually, interesting up to a point. But as I mentioned, I am also an author. Unfortunately, this is only in Italian, so I cannot give you an English or a Bulgarian version. It's not been translated. But everything we're going to talk about in this hour, LinkedIn related, has been tested by myself. So I do the things that I tell you that are needed, and they bring me customers, they bring me leads, they bring me business opportunities. So everything has been tested. There's no theory. There's practically only practical suggestions. And all of this has become the basis for a book that has been published in Italy in 2011 that really speaks about the digitization of the sales approach. Now, if we consider LinkedIn, LinkedIn is just one of the social medias that you have at your disposal. You could say it's not the most relevant social media. I mean, the numbers are way less powerful in a way than Facebook, than Instagram, TikTok, or faster rising business to consumer, or actually consumer-oriented social media. But LinkedIn has in this space a uniqueness in that it's the only social media platform that is specifically aimed at companies and at professionals. So it's the best to consider when we want to talk to either the hiring market, so we want to talk to potential candidates. It's the best social media for companies that work in the B2B space, so that sell professional services to businesses or to other professionals. Okay, so if we sell consumer products, maybe we can use LinkedIn as a secondary social media to Facebook or to Instagram. But if we sell B2B, we could stay only on LinkedIn and maybe avoid or have a secondary on other social media. LinkedIn was actually the oldest, this is a more curiosity, social media out there, because Facebook was founded in 2014, whereas LinkedIn in 2003. And most people still consider LinkedIn as a jobs portal, which it is. It was born that way, integrating a jobs portal with social networking features. Since then, it has grown a lot into a full social network that is mostly work-oriented. It was bought by Microsoft in 2016, and now it's a social network, a full social network, as I said, where people and companies share insights about work. There is research globally that says that a very high amount of people, decision makers that are on LinkedIn, do so because they want to get informed. They want to get insights about stuff that matters to them. How do I do my job? What are the big trends in the hiring industry, in the hiring market today? I go on LinkedIn because I hope that somebody from the companies I trust or the people that I trust and that are in my network publishes some useful insights. So this is important to remember, because it's the basis upon which we will communicate with our potential customers, potential hires, or whatever other opportunities we want to seize. Of course, if we consider the data of LinkedIn, it seems small in comparison to Facebook, and that's not something that is negative for LinkedIn, but it's just a different market that to which LinkedIn aims. Globally, there are 55 million companies on LinkedIn, so it's a lot of companies have a presence on LinkedIn, and it's now nearing 800 million members. It will still take some months, but it will get to 800 million members in a little while. And what's very interesting is that about a little less than 10% of those members could be considered senior level influencers. We could say entrepreneurs, senior managers, executives, professionals, whatever. I mean, people that have relevant impact on the decision-making processes of a company. This is important for our B2B sales initiatives, for example. About 40 million people apply for jobs on a monthly basis, so it's a very vivid jobs market. Of course, in certain countries more than in others, but it's a very vivid jobs portal, and it's calculated there are something like 3 hires per minute. And this is another interesting data that relates to what I was saying earlier. 80% of B2B marketers use it for paid ads versus 67% of B2B marketers using it on Facebook. So what we could say is it is the platform of choice for companies that want to have a marketing presence on social media. Or B2B, sorry, companies. More than half of the total marketers in the USA use it, either organic or sponsored. So even B2C companies are using more and more LinkedIn to talk to their customers, because there may be less customers, but professionals tend to use LinkedIn more than they use Facebook or they use Instagram, for example. So this is another thing that should be considered. Now, what can we do on LinkedIn? This is a general overview of the 3 main areas of action. Okay, we can basically use LinkedIn for 3 things: to hire, not only to hire actually, but to project an image of our company as a good employer. And different job markets have different needs related to this point. But if we want to tell people that we are a good company to work for, we can do it on LinkedIn, and that usually works better than on other social media. It's an HR oriented. Okay, so HR can use LinkedIn to help and further and better their hiring approach, to promote employee advocacy. So having people talk about our employees, positively talk about our company. To boost our employer brand, okay, attracting not customers, but candidates, maybe very sought after profiles that are difficult to find in the market. We can try to attract them by boosting our employer brand on LinkedIn. We can post and sponsor job searches, which is what LinkedIn was born for, or we could reach out to potential hires proactively searching in the market in order to find the best people to hire. We can use it to market, to let people know what we do as a company, not for HR reasons, but for marketing reasons. That can take different actions, like organic posting on the company page. By organic posting, I mean that I can use my company page of Coralia, of GI Group, or Confindustria Bulgaria, or whatever, to post some content, articles, videos, news, whatever, without spending a euro, without spending a dollar, without spending anything, okay? Just posting and having, some people that follow my company page see what I am talking about. We can use it to have employees and salespeople, so the staff of sales, that reshare the content that the company creates. Let's say that we create a white paper because we sell professional services to lawyers, let's say, and we have our sales network or our employees reshare these materials. We can have paid advertising, so such as Facebook and Instagram. We can pay to have our content boosted in front of a very targeted business audience. The targeting features are very clear. We can target people based on their seniority level, based on the companies they work for, on their industry. Okay, so they're very targeted because LinkedIn is the social network where people have people are the most precise in updating their work data. They don't do it on Facebook as much as they do it on LinkedIn, of course. And another interesting area is for entrepreneurs or executives is to further their own personal brand, which is very important in order to appear as trustworthy as a company. And we will go a little bit in more depth in a few minutes. The third major area of action is to sell. Of course, and this is my favorite in a way. I am the most expert in this one, mostly because I am a salesperson. I am a sales consultant, and I use it actively to do exactly what you find on this third column. It's something that the commercial department uses, and what you can do on this is to have a strategy for personal branding by your own sales staff. So having your senior sales consultants, maybe, or senior sales reps grow in the, let's say, be known in the industry and in their own network that they are building on LinkedIn. You can have you can use it by helping salespeople network, okay, with their own network. Sorry for the repetition. With the people that are in their LinkedIn network, by using the LinkedIn feed, or the personal messages. So reach out proactively to customers. You can use LinkedIn to search for leads and companies, and try to engage with these leads and companies with a strategy, and reach out to any customer. Sorry, that is missing a word, through Sales Navigator, which is the premium version, which is the only thing you have to pay for here. So there are things you can do for free, and there are things you can do to paying, and of course boost your presence on the social network. But the beautiful thing about LinkedIn is that it's got a lot of organic free opportunities that you can just take advantage of. What is a roadmap to a better LinkedIn presence? So what should we do? If I were to stop with this slide, you would at least have an idea of a general process that I suggest you could follow in order to have a better presence on LinkedIn. First of all, revamping the company page. Of course, I don't know how are your company pages, but getting your company page, which is, let's say, the showcase of your company. It's like a version of your website on LinkedIn, revamping it, bringing it up to standards. We'll see some ideas on how to do that. Is a good way to have a professional touch point so that it can attract leads natively, of course, through LinkedIn. And not only revamping, such as putting good photos or good information, updated information, but also creating an editorial strategy for the page. This is something that typically marketing departments do for a company, and you create an editorial calendar, so to define that you want to post a certain, create certain posts on a weekly, bi-weekly, or whatever basis, in order to start telling the market that you are there and gaining followers as a company page. Another good step in the roadmap is to create or recreate the CEO and executive LinkedIn profiles, their personal profiles. Okay, so not Federico Vigorelli. Federico Vigorelli's page, not Coralia's page or Confindustria Bulgaria's page or whatever else, which is the company page. I use my own profile as a way to attract people, to stand out as CEO, as an executive, and this can have great impact, for example, in the perception of potential new hires. If I want to hire difficult to hire people because they are very sought after, for example, having a CEO or an executive which stands out is a reason in and of itself to, for people to get inside the company. It gives an idea of our company culture. It gives an idea of what we can offer to people. It gives an idea of trustworthiness. But it can also further our ability to get customers, because people will start saying our point of view and maybe understand who we are. It's like networking at an event, if you want, but we do it in a digital space rather than going at a dinner. Okay, we start getting to know people and so on. This can mean having good profiles as executives or CEOs and or entrepreneurs, and designing a content strategy for our own profiles. Which can be hard to follow, but it gets a lot of it begets a lot of results. Another point in the roadmap could be to teach social selling to sales staff. Okay, I often do. It's actually 60% of what I do is teaching social selling to people in sales, helping them understand how to use LinkedIn, how to do their own posts, how to search for leads, and so on. What we saw in the previous slide. Another very interesting thing that you can do on LinkedIn is to start thinking about an employee advocacy program. Naturally, you will do this if you feel like you need to attract more candidates for your job offers, for example. But if you do, having people in your company speak well of your company, and not marketing and the official touch points of the companies saying you're a good company, but having the frontline employee writing on LinkedIn, how it is to work at your company, gives off an idea of great trustworthiness. People trust reviews by peers much more than they trust marketing, HR, or executives in saying that the company is a good company. So this is a little bit, let's say, the areas where LinkedIn can help you, and some practical actions that you could undertake. The rest of this seminar is going to be a deep dive, as deep as we reasonably can, into some of these areas, into some of these actions. Okay, to give you a sense of what you should be doing, and maybe give you also some best practices to look for if you're interested in doing that specific aspect. So, for example, company page. Let's say that we want to create we want to start off and review our company page, because we want to have a better presence on LinkedIn. First thing that I would like to say, a company page by itself is not enough to really harvest a lot of results on LinkedIn. It can be if you spend a lot of money on ads. Okay, so then you build a big followership, you reach out to a lot of people, but it's costly. If you want to do it in a way that is organic, and that means it's free in the end, you have to take a more structured and systemic approach by alternating, of course, a great company page, but also the activating people, because LinkedIn, especially the LinkedIn algorithm, favors content created by people. It wants to explicitly favor relationships between people rather than pages advertising their services. Okay, so it's great, it's very important to start with a company page, but to think that we are going to extract a lot of value for free from the company page is kind of an illusion. Let me just say that because it's important. So this was mostly, I said, what I said is summarized in this point. So what we should be doing is that we should be looking at our company. It's actually rather simple to complete a company page. What we need to have in order to have a good company page is to take let's say to complete the sections, okay, in that we can find in a company page. There are some information that we can add. There is you know, the bare minimum is to have a company page where we have complete and up-to-date information on what we do, good let's say the logo in clear view, and the banner image at the top. Then if we want to get, and I'm going to show you one example, of course, of a very important brand. So you are going to see a company that we're going to use Unilever, which is of course a colossus, but the point is that whether we do have I mean, you can actually build it with very few resources. It's not particularly complicated. So I'm going to show you Unilever because it's particularly good, but it's very simple to get to the same kind of result. One thing that, for example, the company page does, which is very interesting, is that it helps you showcase content made by your own people. So in an employee advocacy program, it's very important to have what people say be about you be integrated with your own company page. And this goes into a tab in LinkedIn. I'm going to show you what it is. That is called the Live tab, where you can showcase your own people and boost your employer brand, actually, rather than your personal brand. Another thing that you can and should be doing on LinkedIn is to showcase your top content, sponsored and organic, on the page, and to share some content like links, external articles, PR mentions, polls, and videos. These are all things that make a good company page. Down the line, what you want to do, so point is, you start by reviewing the company page. You consider whether to use or not the Live tab, and you start showcasing content and sharing content. If you are serious about using LinkedIn, the company page, what you may want to do is consider using stronger content like articles or live videos, which is a very interesting and important feature of LinkedIn, which helps you grow in terms of thought leadership. So being perceived as a company or as an individual that has a lot of material, a lot of credibility in a certain market. This especially for professional services, this can be particularly important. So just very briefly, just to clarify what I mean, let me change the share screen and go to just to very simply show you the Unilever page. It's just one of the hundreds of examples that I could have given you. And you can see there is not much variability that you can have on the page, because in this case, of course, you're seeing you can just intervene on the information in the about section on the on this banner image and on the logo. Other than that, as you can see, when people visit your company page, what do they see? A brief overview of who you are, events that you may be sponsoring and organizing, which is one important thing to consider. If we are serious about using LinkedIn, we could start using it with, by organizing events, webinars, live events, or whatever, which help us. It's one of the first things that come up when people go look at our page on our company page. And then recently posted videos. Another thing that LinkedIn wants us to do is to publish video, because they know that it creates strong engagement. Then, aside from people, which is not something you can have an active role on, you can see the showcase of page posts, where you can choose to put your most important posts, either in terms of engagement, such as this post that got 530,000 views on LinkedIn by Unilever, or also others that you feel may be important for your own strategy. Okay, and then other tabs down below. Of course, people are able to see the feed of your company, so what you post, and by posting multiple times, let's say maybe even once a day, or at least multiple times a week, let's say, you are able to create a stronger perception of your presence in the market. If you are serious about your employer brand, you can also choose to use the live tab that I was mentioning earlier. So, like, this, of course, sends me directly to the Italian page, but let's see the global one, where you can showcase employee content. Okay, you can choose to showcase what your employees are talking about, their posts that you find interesting. So to give a sense of to recognize the contribution of an employee, but also to show that your company listens to your employees. Showcase the leadership team. By the way, some of these I'm going to use also as examples of positive executive presence on LinkedIn, and insert various, for example, detailed content in your let's say in your secondary field, such as, for example, in this case, showcasing the values of Unilever, for example. This is aimed at communicating who you are to a potential candidate, of course. So it's a specific action that you can choose to take. Then, of course, the company page aggregates all the job postings, and it aggregates the sites you don't really care about, the events, okay, that you do, and what are the videos that are published by the company. So as you can see, it creates an immediate point where to showcase whatever are your initiatives on your marketing initiatives. Okay, so one first thing that you could consider is, let's go on the company page and review it. It's rather simple. You have to simply assign or actually have the administrator of your page work on it. And my suggestion is copy from people, from company pages that you see and that you find excellent. Okay, so copy their approach in a way, in a good way. I mean, get inspired, let's say, by those approaches. A second way that you can leverage your company page is by using sponsored content. So my point is that if you only post organically on the page, you're not going to get a lot of leads, for example. But you can get them, or you can get a huge amount of views if you start, of course, sponsoring content. Maybe fun if you are in a B2B space and are advertising on Facebook, you may want to switch some budget from Facebook or Google Ads or whatever, maybe to LinkedIn if it's coherent with your target audience. My point here is that you shouldn't, though, only ever talk about your products and services on LinkedIn, because people want to know, for example, about the way that our company works, about our values, about what we do for society, about our successes, about the inner works of our company. I mean, the approach that pays off the most on LinkedIn in terms of views, in terms of engagement, is usually a mixed approach. Sometimes we speak about what we do, our services and so on. Sometimes we speak about something that is a little more, let me say, personal in a way. not personal for the person, but for example, anything that has to do with the business, with the company values. There are a lot of companies, for example, that publish almost exclusively things about their sustainability policies, okay, for example, in order to show that we are a company that is serious about sustainability. Then again, maybe once in a while they post something about their own services. But for example, Unilever practically, they never talk about their services, of course, because Unilever doesn't need to, but there's simply a different approach. The goal should be, if possible, to provide thought leadership content to your customers. Not every company is in professional services, of course, but every company that is working maybe on something that is a little bit innovative, or where there is technical content, can try to leverage that knowledge, that know-how, in order to create content that can be useful for our target audience. My guess, my advice is to start mostly with organic posting. So you get a social media manager, you maybe have one already, and you ask them to create some posts or repurpose some posts from other social media, also for LinkedIn, and start out organic. Then if you find that some posts work better, you have maybe some videos that are an ad for your company, you can choose to go sponsored in order to have a wider reach and grow your user and follower base on your company page. Specifically, you may choose to sponsor content with high potential for engagement. Videos and PDF guides, for example, work better than external links or other things. If I were to show you all the sponsored ad options in Campaign Manager, we would kind of take half hour only on that, because it's quite complicated. But there are different sponsored ad options that depend on your goal, on your objective. For example, you have some options to create ads aimed at growing your follower base. But you also have campaigns that are conversion driven, such as, for example, sending personalized message to a certain target audience, personalized automatically personalized, let's say through tags, or direct to mail campaigns, or even they have started experimenting with a new type of ad that I find very interesting, which is a conversational message, such as a small chatbot that is sent in the direct message of LinkedIn to the potential customers, where they can interact with this chatbot, asking some very simple scripted questions, of course, and be guided, let's say, towards a conversion, for example, action, okay, which are very interesting. The point is just experiment with this. You can simply sponsor an ad by saying, show this video to 100,000 people, or you can try to have some more direct approaches, which can drive conversions and ultimately some leads, and then ultimately some conversions of business. So this is a little bit about the company page, but the consideration that we need to do when we talk about LinkedIn is that LinkedIn pays off when you have people behind the wheel, okay? When you have people driving the conversations, because in the end, professionals engage with other professionals, not with brands. There's some data that I collected from LinkedIn, from Gartner, from various sources that show that, for example, 76% of people trust content more if it is shared by a person rather than a brand. Okay, this is very important. We want people to trust us, okay, our customers. So we need to have people saying stuff such as, seeing a company page where Coralia or GI Group, Coralia say, hey, we're a great company to work for, has an impact. But 76% of people will trust more Federico saying it's really great to work in Coralia, rather than having a brand page saying we're great. Same thing with products and so on. Not only that, but corporate content shared by employees. So if I publish a video or send a video to my salespeople, and my salespeople share it natively on LinkedIn rather than simply the company sharing it, this content gets 8 times more engagement than company page content and is reshared 25 times more frequently. So the point is, if we do not engage our people in our LinkedIn marketing strategies, we're losing out, we're missing out on a lot of engagement. Great brands have people amplify, okay, their content, amplify their strategy so that it gets reshared almost virally, and we really maximize our impact. In a way, the calculation is that you can get a boost by 500,000 when reshared by employees. That means if you spend $1,000 on creating a strategy, $100 on creating a post, let's say, because you create it with a video, you can get 500% more, okay, so 50 times as much value out of it if it is reshared by employees rather than if it's just created and delivered by your own people, by marketing centrally. Leads developed through employee advocacy convert 7 times more frequently than other leads. Okay, if you get a lead because you publish a report and people give you the lead because they click on your let's say on your how do you call it? I miss the English term right now. On your landing page, okay, if you click on the landing page and say, okay, give me the report and leave your data, that converts on a certain amount of times, let's say 1 out of 10. If the lead is developed through employee advocacy, so that report is shared by an employee and there are some people that ask their employee about it, that lead converts 7 times more frequently. So it's a really great opportunity. And we, as executives, as entrepreneurs, have a very high responsibility in this. We can have an executive presence, okay? What I advise is to, first of all, do a very professional profile makeover. This can mean having some people from marketing help you. This can mean hiring external consultants. For example, I do it as a service often to try to create a storytelling, a narrative for your executive profile, and having a professional photographer take a headshot, a graphics designer crafting a good banner page, banner image. So using everything that is in your power in LinkedIn to create a unique profile. The personal profile is to an executive what a landing page or a professional website is to a brand. It's fundamental because it's what people will look at. If you start on a journey of using LinkedIn actively, people will look you up a lot and they will find professionalism, they will find something that draws them, okay, in. And so it helps you showcase your personality, your uniqueness, your thought leadership. So professional headshot and cover image. I'm going to show you a few. I'm actually going to give you some tips on the slides of who to follow to see how it's done by big entrepreneurs, but also smaller ones, Italian and not only Italian. So I'm going to share both. And there are a few things I'm going to show them on my profile in a minute. But the LinkedIn profile is made of different areas. There is the headshot and the cover image. There's the headline, so the little phrase that people usually only use as their job profile, CEO at GI Group or other things like that. That's okay, but we can do better. Define a narrative for your summary and experiences. So many people use LinkedIn only as a CV, a blank version of their own CV. Actually, it's much more than that. We can use LinkedIn in order to create, as I said, a narrative, to tell a story of how we became to be the great CEO, the great entrepreneur, the great executive that we are today, or the great salesperson if we are in sales and want to do some personal branding to sell our services. Showcase our successful posts. The most important thing you can do on LinkedIn is to have your, if you aim at becoming a thought leader in your network, is to showcase what you talk about, and even consider creator mode, which I'm going to show you very quickly. Another typical thing that I advise is that executives should actively use LinkedIn to share wisdom, share posts, share information. One very interesting profile to follow in that regard is an Italian person, Italian executive, which posts mostly in English though, which is Fabio Moioli. I'm going to add it to this part, which is a high-ranking executive in Microsoft Italy, and is the kind of person that often, and he's a very person that has a lot to do. I mean, he doesn't work for a small firm. He works for Microsoft at a very high level, but he's the kind of person that posts frequently and doesn't just post and then forget about it. He often answers to messages. He often answers to comments, which is a very important thing. And then to mix up corporate sounding content. So yes, of course, we want to talk about our company, but we also want to talk about our personal views sometimes, to talk about the success that our company is having, maybe even to talk about some of our people, okay, showcasing them in a way. This is all to not sound like a profile that is engineered by marketing, but as a real person that actually has something to say to the market. And my advice, as I said, is to just look up some amazing executives that you can find on LinkedIn and model your strategy on them. I'm not going to go through these, but this is just a few examples. I put Satya Nadella, which I mean is one of the most important CEOs in the world, and I realized that his approach is a little bit. I mean, he has a team, of course, to do it. And I also put Carlo Bonomi, since he's the president of Confindustria in Italy. So but the point is, I put people that are both very important, highly well-known people, and smaller scale executives and CEOs, such as for mid-sized companies or even startups, to show you what you can do in order to try to achieve a status of high recognition on LinkedIn. Okay, just to give a little better focus on what I was talking about, I'm going to show you on my profile. Okay, just because it's simple for me to show it, but you could do it exactly on all of the executives that I showed you. And as you can see, this is what I was talking about. You can see a simple profile with little information, and it gives you a certain idea. But if you start taking a look at a better crafted profile, you start seeing something more. You start seeing a little, an image that conveys in the images a professional idea. Okay, I showcase in these two images most of what I do: the book, the TEDx speech, the fact that I'm a corporate speaker, the fact that I do smart selling, agile, and innovation. Okay, so you can kind of see a glimpse of what I do in the first image. Then I don't say I am a partner of Coralia. You can see that from my job down below, but I say what I do. Now you see it in the Italian version here. Let me put it to English. You can see that I am an HR sales innovation manager and all the rest of what I do. Then I go down, this of course you cannot see from outside, and you see featured posts. Okay, you start seeing, okay, Federico is a person that that communicates. In this case, that I do I've done some important or interesting things, and that there are some topics that I talk about that are highly interesting for people. Then you start seeing my content, okay? You see all the activity that I can do, and you can see that I post on a daily basis or almost. And of course, I'm very active on LinkedIn. You can have a good activity even if you post only once a week, but I would advise not less than that. Then you go, and so my point is, what we need to do is to curate very well this first area. So professional headshot, professional looking background image, professional sounding I forget the summary, and featured content and frequent posting. Once we do have that, we can also start creating a narrative by narrating ourselves, for example, in what we do, what our company does, what we are passionate about, whatever the approach we have about our content, about our let's say our summary, okay, our about section, and then showcasing what we have been doing in our career. We may have been entrepreneurs for 30 years and only have one experience, or we may have been executives changing from one job to the other. Everyone has a narrative that they can create in order to showcase the value we give to our customers, or the value we can give to our potential candidates for a company, for people that they are considering to apply to our company. We can add media in order to make it very rich. So the point is, we should treat our profile as our own website, so that people can look at it and say, wow, this person really knows A and B, this and that, can give me some value on this and that. These are the I don't know, awards they won, or the milestones they achieved. Okay, this is all the what you can do. And there are a lot of other things that you can do on your profile, but I think that this is quite enough in order to showcase what are the possibilities. And what I advise is that this is done to all the executives in a company, maybe 2, 3, 5, 6, depending on the level, but having all the company with a strong, recognizable presence on LinkedIn shows off a very strong sense of an important company, let's say. And this activates employee advocacy. So having people actively use LinkedIn. A lot of companies are scared of employees speaking freely on LinkedIn, but I think they miss out on the opportunities. Of course, we need to have a social media policy. We cannot have people talk about whatever they want on social media, but having a good policy can help us guide their content, and maybe start with some ambassadors. Find some people that you know are going to speak well of your company. Use LinkedIn professionally. If we start having 5 executives and 10 ambassadors and the company page, our reach on the market is going to be a lot bigger. We need, of course, to train people on the use of LinkedIn or of other social media. Employee advocacy can also be done on Facebook or on Instagram. It doesn't need to be done on LinkedIn, but so train people on how to use it. Showcase the success of these ambassadors. If you take 10 people and ask them to do an advocacy program, talk about life at the company, talk about guided content to a point, but then have them use it, you can also showcase internally, maybe even externally, the success of these ambassadors. And this, once again, helps you grow in perception. Extend it to others in the company after the pilot, okay, so that more and more people get interested in this, and maybe have even people choose their own level of engagement. Maybe only reshare the company posts by informing them. You have a functionality in LinkedIn where every day you can inform all your employees that a certain post has been posted, and this can give you an easy way to reshare. But then again, to participate in specific company communication events, I recommend, this is an Italian example, unfortunately, so for non-Italian speakers, it's harder to take a look at it. But if you take a look at Cromology Italia's page, Cromology is actually an international company, but the Italian team has been doing a very interesting company-wide employee advocacy program, which is called the Cromology Voices, and I strongly recommend you check it out. They're an industrial company, so not a professional services, okay? And they have been doing an incredible job of showcasing their own employees. And then, of course, you can have people create their own original content. Final 5 minutes, and then my time is up, but I wanted to touch base upon the final point of social selling through LinkedIn. This is another thing that is very deep as a let's say as a matter. Okay, we could really talk about this for days. Some of the things that you need to do in social selling I've already mentioned, because, for example, having a good profile is something that we could start working on for all the company. And also some of the steps of the advocacy program are exactly the same. So the social media policy, ambassadors, train, and so on, it's something that is shared between the two. But having salespeople work on LinkedIn is more strategic, because we ask people to start creating meaningful conversations with prospects, start engaging with decision makers, start engaging with the people that are going to buy our products or our services. And they can do it organically or through Sales Navigator, which is the premium approach. Basically, what you want to do here is not really only reach out to sell our services, but, as I said, create conversations. Have our salespeople interact with customers, grow their personal brand, have people know what they do, and so what the company does. We can even connect Sales Navigator with our CRM, by the way, for added control on the process. So there are some opportunities also for that. The focus, as I said, is networking, not cold emailing. Okay, not spamming 1,000 messages a day saying, hello, do you want to meet for a 15-minute chat about our services? That usually doesn't work, but it can connect you to a lot of opportunities. I personally have done a TEDx speech thanks to this approach. I've gotten dozens of customers thanks to this approach. I have been doing a lot of, I've started teaching at a business school thanks to this approach, which was not, once again, cold emailing with the prospection message, but it was focusing on growing relationships and networking. This can become the most effective when we have a joint campaign between marketing and sales. That means that if marketing creates strong content, a white paper, an event, a webinar, whatever we usually would use as a lead magnet to attract people maybe to our website, or to sponsor, okay, through a sponsored ad, the same thing can be given to salespeople in order to have them reinforce this message, send it strategically to certain customers, or maximize the number of people that are going to attend our webinars. These are all ways that we can really leverage the network and the community of LinkedIn to our advantage. It was a little bit of a rush, and I am very aware of that. But as I said, I had an hour, and I hope I gave you a wide enough, and in some cases even a little deep sense of what are the opportunities, okay, that you can create on LinkedIn. And once again, if you want to seize any of these, you can either study more thoroughly, you can reach out to me, you can reach out to any consultant that does LinkedIn sales training or consulting, and we will of course help you more in depth. But if you have any questions, of course, please feel free, because this is, I think, a correct moment to have the Q&A session.
Okay, that was really great. So the sizzle, yeah, of course, it was short because the time we had was not to go into depth, but I think that you managed to give the main aspects, and then, as you said, everyone can go further and to develop. I have a question, but I'll put it at the end. So now the audience, if they have questions, please, we have this opportunity and ask questions to an expert. So please, whoever has a question. I'll go with my question and then
break the ice.
Yeah. The temptation to use the same content on different social media is really strong, and it's easier to have the same content and just paste it in Facebook, in LinkedIn. How do we just which is the right approach as to the different social media so that you can get the most as visibility?
It's not even, I'm going to say it's not necessarily a bad idea to use to repurpose content. Actually, it's actually a very good starting point. I recommend that any company that has not been doing LinkedIn but has been doing Facebook or Instagram should consider doubling their approach by repurposing. And there are also tools that will help you do that, such as Hootsuite, Postpicker. There are a lot of automated publishing tools that are partly free, partly not, but they have usually free accounts, but with paid accounts they work better, and they help you schedule, for example, multiple postings on different social media. What is different between the two, between the various, is that first of all is the target. My advice is always to curate the best your content that goes on your primary social media. If you are in a B2B space and are starting out and want to start out on LinkedIn, think LinkedIn first, and then if you want, you can repurpose and repost on other social media. But you should know that those don't work perfectly for others. For example, Instagram has a completely different way of working than LinkedIn. Text on Instagram almost doesn't work. It's only images. Images on LinkedIn work, but usually they work with a single image, whereas on Instagram you may want to publish multiple images in a single post in order to give a sense of the development, for example, of a single message. The same thing on LinkedIn should be done with a PDF rather than an image, for example. No, like creating, I don't know, if you want to create a how-to guide on a square shape, that is great if you have 10 images on Instagram because people scroll them, but if you do it on LinkedIn, it becomes a mess, so you have to do a PDF. So there are some points that are structure and in the form of your post. Some others have to do with the way that your algorithms work. Okay, LinkedIn favors certain media, such as paradoxically text-only short posts usually work very well on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn wants to have people share ideas rather than images. So images do work well, but not as well as things that LinkedIn associates with content. Okay, so PDF files are more associated with thought content rather than images. That's the reason why they are better formatted and they give you more visibility. Videos work a lot better, but on LinkedIn you usually want to use the flat 16:9 ratio rather than the vertical or square, because they just work better on the feed. So there are some differences that you just have to learn as you do, or talk to somebody that has been doing it and understand what to do. But then again, I'm not one of the people that says you shouldn't repurpose. You should repurpose, because unless you are a colossus of a company and you can have 4 different marketing teams and agencies, But if you are a normal company, such as most companies that exist in the world, you want to kind of be efficient in avoiding to have to redo everything. But once again, think first on your audience. If you are a B2C company and also want to use LinkedIn, I mean, you start with Facebook and then you maybe the post is not really good for LinkedIn, but you still have a presence. Finally, my advice is if you are a B2C company and want to sell your products on LinkedIn, it doesn't work that well. So commercial messages don't work that well on LinkedIn. What you may want to do is, like the example of Unilever, showcase your values, the way that you work, some ideas, like for example, sustainability or other, deeper level content rather than just this is my service and costs 50 euros, 100 euros or whatever, because that's not the way that the LinkedIn user, what LinkedIn users want. Okay. Often when you do stuff that is not considered LinkedIn-like, people will comment, this is not something for LinkedIn, post it on Facebook, please, like politics or other stuff. And at least in Italy, this is very frequent. So there is a little, care that you have to take on LinkedIn, and once again, it's simply on understanding what is the main interest of our audience on there.
Great, thank you. Other questions?
Mila, I have one question from Fede. I hope you can hear me well from the car.
I can.
Fede, I'm very, very grateful for the training today and also everything that you've done with us with GI. But I have a question that as a manager, and I have a very, very limited time to interact with social networks and LinkedIn in particular. What would you say is like the basic minimum that a manager should do as in terms of LinkedIn presence or LinkedIn interaction?
There is no minimum in that. Let me say, once again, it depends on what you want to do. What I've seen in consulting various executives is that you start out feeling like it is a chore, and then you find that it is actually something that you appreciate. And I can guarantee that most executives that I know do spend their own time on LinkedIn, on Instagram or on other social media. So what I usually do is just move your leisure social networking time, eat from that. Don't think that LinkedIn eats up your professional time. It eats up your free time, maybe. Okay, but it's time that you're already dedicating to something that is not necessarily very important, such as social media. You can dedicate it to a more important and also business-oriented activity. So this is the first thing that I usually advise. The second thing is that there is no minimum. I mean, anything you do on LinkedIn can help. Of course, if you post less than once a week, it may become dispersed. So my advice is to have one piece of content per week as a minimum. And by piece of content, I mean that you can also write in 500 characters your thoughts about one news that you read or your, I don't know. Okay, and anything that is even easy to write at first, and then maybe supplement it, and in that way you can have marketing, your social media manager do it with some more, corporate content. This is something that you could consider doing, such as a social media manager reposting one content from I don't know, like I don't know, I attended a Confindustria meeting and have my social media manager take a picture or ask me to take a picture and then create a post for me, for example. And this is, simple and it's effective. Okay, so there's no minimum. Let's say that less than once a week could be a little too. It could be a little too few to have a presence, to establish a presence. But then again, it works better than nothing.
Other questions? Sorry. Okay, last opportunity. If no one has any question at this point, I hope that if some questions come afterwards, we can send you and anyway keep in touch, because for us it was very helpful, because we organized it, but we are brand as well, and we have our LinkedIn profile, and we'd like to improve it. So it was, for me, it was very, very useful to get a better picture, because I admit that sometimes maybe I didn't read enough, but I didn't understand really well the different, why use LinkedIn more for brand exposure than, for example, Facebook. Facebook is more popular and it's easier to for that point of view. But how do you build this more professional profile? And for me, the CEO profiles and the staff profiles is kind of the answer to how you actually build the image of, for your company or your organization, so that it has more power and is more representative. So thank you very much for your contribution. It was really great. Can you send us the presentation as well?
I will send you the presentation, absolutely. And as I showed you, there are some examples that I didn't really read, but you can take on from there to get inspiration, of course.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank everybody for attending, and see you at our next event. So have a nice evening and see you soon.
Thank you all. It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Fede.
Grazie,
Thank
Dimo.
you.
Thank you.
Grazie.